Okay, undeniably good. Why? Because Southern States Wrestling is showing us that Lord Murphy Costigan, the Royal Rogue, the sophisticated scoundrel. I almost called him the sophisticated scoundrel. The sophisticated scoundrel. The talent centre of Southern States Wrestling is still there as your champion. Still there as your champ. And I've made some notes here. And he's all over this programme, which is good. Later on, he will have an interview at ringside with Joe Wheeler. They've not quite got this sorted out. Can't really hear him, and I really want to hear him. He does say that that Chase Emery won't get another chance to fight him. Although we've got CJ Knight, who lost the title. He was the champion, lost the title to the Lord. Of course he did. And Bo James, who's doing the commentary, tells us that, well, he's got a clause, a rematch clause in his contract. Well, then Chase Emery will have one of them, won't he? But what it kind of says, what it implies is that Lord Murphy Costigan, as champion, can decide when people wrestle him. I've never heard of that before, but I think it's a great idea, because it could be the 12th of never. Right, I'll put that in my diary. Don't come back, etc., etc. So we've got that going on. I'll talk more about the almost unheard, because it's difficult to hear. Mind you, one of the reasons why it's difficult to hear is because the crowd are so angry and shouting so much, because Lord Murphy Costigan is a supreme heel. Supreme! So, supreme! So that's one of the reasons why it's difficult to hear him. But anyway, we start with the faction. Jeff's Connolly and Baker, who are pretty cheesed off because they feel that in the 3-team number one contendership match, no, it wasn't, the winners won the title, didn't they? Won the tag team titles. That they were gypped out of the title, to use an English phrase. They were cheated out of the title, they thought, by Miss Serenity. I think she grab one of their legs, I think. And they took the belts home, and then not NAWA. What am I talking about? It's a different promotion entirely. Southern States Wrestling had to go and retrieve those belts using the sheriff. The Sharif. Not Omar, but the Sharif. Yes. And they think it's that was brought on by Miss Serenity, and they could have been right. However, they can't just take the belts and keep them, but they do have a point that Miss Serenity has. She's been involved in them not being the final two teams. So they are a little bit cheesed off, and they are facing Santiago and CJ Knight, who they were facing in that match. It's for a number one contender match, and that's quite right, actually. So we've got Connolly, gets a nice headlock into a kind of straight jacket pull, which is lovely. You see me pulling. Santiago is on Connolly really quickly, gets some good shots in, and he reckons, Bo James reckons, that the faction are using a Bo James and KC Thunder move, and they haven't quite done it correctly. He's really honest. He can be quite salty, Bo. They haven't quite got it right. Quite done it right, but I quite like that. I like his commentary in that way. He's very sure of himself and very confident. That's fair enough. He's done it all in Southern States Wrestling, hasn't he? He's the supremo of Southern States Wrestling, isn't he? So anyway, we've got the faction. They've got quite a lot. My glasses keep falling down. Look at my notes here, you see. And they've got quite a lot of offense here, including a kick to the back, 2 kicks to the back, in fact, a spine buster for a 2 count, a head crank, a clothesline, a super kick, and then Connolly getting an abdominal stretch. It's great. This is all to CJ Knight, I think, if I remember rightly. We've then got Miss Serenity coming in and spraying CJ Knight and Jeff Baker in the eyes, and it's a DQ. I don't quite understand why she would do that, because someone's going to have to face your team. And what she's really saying is, if I spray you in the eyes and nobody can for a while fight my team, then we might keep the belts for a bit longer. In fact, her team don't have the belts. She has them. Later on, we'll see that she has them when she's got an interview. But it does smack of, well, actually, maybe if they fought somebody, they might lose. So I'm just going to keep interfering, and hopefully the number one contender will never be agreed. Now, the faction are very unhappy with Miss Serenity, of course, and I do like the way that they say she will get a receipt a mile long. Now, you know the receipt is a wrestling term, and they're going to get their own back on her. Now, here's the Lord, and he backs off when Chase Emery comes in, but just giving the man some room. And what you do is you create the room so he has to come to you, and then you can smack him up a bit, which happens here actually, because he slaps him. They get in the ring. The Lord backs him into a corner. Refs and the locker room come out to help, and there's Scott Sterling, who's on the championship committee. Big fella. Yeah, big important fella. And he is talking about how they'll both be in the building, and Bo James tells us at the event on Friday what's going to happen. They're not fighting each other, but what's going to happen? He won't get another chance. Lord's told us that. I mean, Emery did take him to his limit, I think. But as we know, Lord used his wrestling acumen. He said he would, and he just got, after the extra 5 minutes, got a DQ. And that's fair enough. That's how you keep your belt. It's up to Chase Emery. In fact, he was stopped by the ref from going out to get Lord. So really, the ref stopped you winning that. It's not Lord's fault. You can use the rules. You have till 5. You have the champion's favour. You can, that's the advantage. You can do that. And he did. Right, here's Wild Bill versus Trey. Miss Serenity is there. We join it in progress. It's a last man standing match. Now, when it starts, we've got Trey Chaos sitting down. There's a ref bump early on, and Miss Serenity sprays Wild Bill. Trey gets a face buster on the knee. Second rope basement missile dropkick. Doesn't have any point to a missile dropkick, really. If you're going to do all that for a basement missile dropkick, there are some punches, and in come the faction. Here's part of the receipt. So, make sure you get your receipt. Yeah, I'll just print it off for you. Oh, I'll just print it. Oh, yeah, all of that. So, yeah, they're providing the receipt. Then we've got the bell ringing, and somebody rung the bell early on as soon as the faction came in, and the match isn't actually over, Bo has to tell us. But then we've got Wild Bill propped up on the ropes. The referee comes to. Wild Bill's propped up on the ropes. Trey Chaos is lying down, is counted out, and that's the win. It was rather good, because the ref came to and thought, well, actually, you're standing, you're lying, count. It's really rather good. And Miss Serenity has both belts for the interview. She isn't happy with Jeff and Jeff. Who would be? This is shaping up quite well, actually, the faction versus the tag team champs, who, of course, are Trey Chaos and Lawrence. And Lawrence nowhere to be seen, by the way, in this episode. You've got the Lord. You've got Santiago and CJ Knight. And I want to say CJ Lang. Is that an actress? Is that a writer? It's a writer, isn't it? Is it an actress? Anyway, I don't know. So, it's looking good. It's looking really good. And I'm enjoying Southern States Wrestling. Particularly when Lord Murphy Costigan is in there. And I hope he's in there every single episode. Ta-ta.